Hello everybody, welcome to my channel. Today I am going to explain and recap a recently released horror film called UnHuman. At the beginning of the film, we see a high school girl by the name Ever. She was not very popular or social at her school, hence she was worried a little. Her mom was a nurse who was working on a double shift. She sensed some sadness in Ever and thought this may be due to hormonal changes in the body. Ever was totally embraced by this and she pretended like everything is fine. Her mom still cautioned her about high school life and asked her to make good decisions. Ever later meet her childhood friend TAMRA, who was like a cool, popular girl at school. These guys were going on a school trip for extra credit. At car, TAMRA kind of hinted at Ever to be cool, bold, and relaxed. TAMRA was giving her free advice on how to become cool at school, which was clearly irritating Ever. Ever was still a virgin who had a crush on a guy by the name of Steve. While these two talking, TAMRA accidentally hit her car to a cyclist. She thought the dude is dead, but he was alive. The dude's name was Randall. He was Ever and TAMRA's classmate since 6th grade. Still, TAMRA behaved as if she doesn't know him. She kind of said sorry, but she never really meant it. Just then school's bully team, Danny, Hunt, and Casey arrived there. Danny threw a half-empty drink bottle at Randall, which soaked his shirt. These guys used to bully others for fun. Ever felt bad about it, but she and TAMRA just went away from there as if it was normal. Later we see a PT teacher, Mr. Lorenzo, collecting all mobile phones from kids before allowing them on the school bus. He was in charge of the school trip. Ever had no mobile on her, for which he kind of joked. Here the bus driver was Wayne. Lorenzo was always making fun of him and kind of bullying him. Steven, Candace, and Ryan were some other kids who were there on the bus. These were typical weird guys by high school standards. Ryan was fat, way fat. There seems to be an issue between him and Danny. Candace wore braces. She was pretty in other ways, but girls were mean to her. Mr. Lorenzo gives a lame duck speech about nature, friendship, and the importance of the trip to kids, but as usual, kids don't give a damn about it. Wayne starts the bus, and after some time we see Mr. Lorenzo in deep sleep. This dude was in charge, yet he was sleeping. When he woke up, he started shouting at Wayne as he thought he had taken the wrong route. Wayne started arguing with him. Just then something hit the windscreen. Its blood splat all around, and because of this Wayne lost control. The bus was moving on a bridge. It pierced the railing and started descending downhill. Everyone started screaming as the accident was given. When Wayne finally hit the brakes, everyone was thrown forward and backward. Casey broke her nose, others were injured. Suddenly the area surrounding the bus was filled with thick fog. An emergency radio broadcast started on radio. It says this message is from the United States Office of Civil Defense. Please head to the nearest fallout station and take essentials and battery-operated radio with you. We are under siege by a chemical attack. This is not a drill. Everyone was freaked out. Mr. Lorenzo shouted at Wayne to turn off the radio. Just then someone started moving beside the bus. He knocked on the door. By the look of him, he seemed dangerous. Kids and Wayne were not in the mood to open the door, but Mr. Lorenzo insisted. He thought he might be the guy whom Wayne hit in the first place. He opened the door and asked him, "Do you have insurance?" Randall and Steve were sitting at the front. They were scared like hell, hence they moved back. The guy, without saying any word, attacked Lorenzo. He literally pulled his flesh from his face. Lorenzo started bleeding. Kids and Wayne were spooked by this. That guy attacked Wayne. Kids opened the emergency door and started running. Danny, Hunt, Casey, TAMRA, Ever, Steve, and Randall escaped, but others got trapped. Ever tried to help Candace, but the attacker dragged her back. The escaped kids ran from the bus. They were middle of the woods and had no idea of what was going on. Or who was that guy? They were hearing a lot of screaming voices. Randall suggested that the guy who attacked them might be a zombie. The emergency broadcast signal on the radio is for the whole nation. He pointed out toward an abandoned building for hiding out. Danny took the lead and started checking that place out in a hurry. He slipped on a dead horse with blood. He was not convinced by this zombie theory. He believed that guy might be a psycho who just attacked them for no reason. Or because they just hit him. Anyway, the kids more into this old building, which looked like an abandoned art studio. These kids started closing all entrances with wood boards and waste items. They started searching for weapons in case anybody comes. They split into two groups. Danny, Gracie, Hunt, and Tamra were in one group, Stephen, Randall, and Ever were in another group. Ever wanted to go with Tamra, but Tamra left her alone. Clearly, she was in a panic. Here Ever and Stephen talk for the first time and they discuss their theory on what's going on here. Randall found a spear here. After closing everything, these kids gathered again and started thinking about what to do next. Just then they heard the voice of Candace. She was shouting these guys' names. The dude who attacked Mr. Lawrence was also there. He was using Candace as bait. Ever wanted to help but others stopped her. With no one coming, that dude attacked Candace and started beating her. Everyone saw this and they thought Candace is dead. Just then Wayne barged in. The blood was flowing from his face. He looked different and he was not at all in his sense. He was showcasing all symptoms of a typical zombie. Kids ran away from him like Usain Bolt and hid themselves in this huge building. Just then Ryan arrived there from another end. He was normal. He beat up a couple of infected guys on his way here. He was pretty sure that all of them were infected somehow. Original zombie dude with others were following Ryan. They arrived here and started attacking. Like before, this time also Kid ran. Randall started piercing a wooden wall. Danny and Hunt counterattacked to distract those zombie kids. Soon they were overpowered, and zombies got Hunt. On the other side, Randall made a way that led to a tunnel and then to a room. While crossing, Ryan got stuck as he was fat. Ever kicked him in the butt, which caused him to bleed by side. Danny was horrified seeing his best friend Hunt to turn into a zombie. He somehow escaped from there and closed the way. Kids now gathered in a room where Danny was visibly angry and sad. He felt he let down his best friend. He believed he deserved that. Just then he observes a peculiar thing. In that room lay many mannequins who were similar in looks to these kids. As if suggesting they deserved that. Everyone was spooked by this. Just then we see Danny was feeling clumsy. Randall asked him, did anyone bite him? Danny showed the infection mark and said I am alright, but clearly he was not. Zombie Wayne, who was wandering around in the building somewhere, barges in. He starts attacking everyone. Randall beats his head with a stick till he seemed unconscious. Danny had enough of this. He collected a few paint cans and started moving to the attic. He wanted to burn them all, but due to his infection, he was slowly turning. When Ryan tried to help him, he attacked him. Danny had a few issues with Ryan. He used to be fat like Ryan. They were good friends in a fat camp. Danny lost weight and built muscle. He literally turned himself into a muscular bully. But Ryan didn't lose weight. He always reminded Danny of his past self, which he hated to the core. Hence he always bullied Danny. Just then Wayne, who seemed to be dead, came running. He grabbed Danny and jumped from the first floor. Everyone thought Danny is dead. But soon he stood up. His body was twisting like an Olympic gymnast. This convinced everyone about the zombie apocalypse. Randall still insisted on staying in this building and closing everything. But Ever disagreed. She was surprised how he had all the answers every time. She argued with him. Like Danny, she collected all the paint cans, lit them, and threw them at a car parked outside. It had a big blast. The fire attracted the remaining zombies. The day passed. It was almost evening. Ever wanted to go out and call her mom, as school teacher Mr. Lorenzo had mobile phones. Tamra didn't like this idea. She wanted to be in the group with Randall. Ever accused her of hypocrisy, as mourning she didn't care about Randall. As Ever moved out, Stephen followed her. He tried to pursue her for a stay. But Ever was determined, hence to support her he too went along with it. Back at the bus, Ever found the bag with the mobiles. But to her bad luck, they were all dead. She started crying. She thought she is smart and courageous, but turned out to be a fool. Stephen consoled her for courage. He appreciated her trying to find solutions. These two started to kiss, but Stephen chickened out by saying his mouth is dirty with mud. Just then Ever saw the radio. As soon as she switched it on, the same message from morning played. It was not coming from a live radio, but from a recorded tape. Somebody set them up. We see Stephen removing a syringe from his pocket. He drives half a unit into Ever's back and says sorry. We now get to know what really happening here. This zombie thing was set up by Randall and Steve. They were bullied in school by Danny and his friends. Hence they decided revenge. About 4 weeks ago they contacted and hired a drug dealer by the name of Chip. He was the same dude who attacked Mr. Lorenzo the very first time. They also hired Wayne, the bus driver, who was fed up with Mr. Lorenzo's bullying. He and Mr. Lorenzo were school buddies. For many years he was bottling up his hatred for him. Chip had brought a drug, which he called zombie juice. It sedated victims and made them do wired things. He injected it into everyone. It was supposed to be mild, no one expected it to work like this. He had caged all kids. Now, his and Randall's plan was to kill the kids for real. Chip was also bullied in school, the trauma made him do drugs. For many years he was living with contempt, he wanted to take all out on these kids. Stephen was horrified by this new plan, he didn't agree but he had no choice. Randell had already convinced TAMRA and others about zombies. Now he wanted to exploit them, make them kill their friends. Ever was semi-conscious during this time, she heard everything. When Randell and Stephen left the bus she started moving out. Chip saw this and attacked her. Ever fought back, this time she hit him really hard with everything she got. Ultimately she knocked him out. Randell gave his hidden weapons to TAMRA, Gracie, and Ryan and asked them to kill the remaining kids. They agreed as they thought of them as zombies. Ever arrived back at the building, she beat the hell out of Stephen. When TAMRA and the guys opened the door to attack, she shouted at them to stop. She explained everything. Since she was also injected with zombie juice, she had an infection mark. Randell again says she is one of them, kill her. But this time TAMRA and Ryan didn't believe her. Instead, they hit him. Randell fell open a curtain that unraveled a painting he just made to celebrate his grand success. Prematurely, I guess. It showed him as a hero with TAMRA by his side. This convinced everyone of his fraud and they started attacking him. All the fights here are very brutal and in the end, Ever pokes the gloves of zombie juice in his head and finally knocked him out. These guys also beat up Chip. After about 5 hours the effect of zombie juice had worn out. All kids head back to the bus. Their indifference, opinion, and judgment about each other were gone. They became great friends. Finally, we see Mr. Lorenzo waking up. He was not dead. With this, the film ends. Well, it's an average zombie film. It's just for a casual watch. If you liked the video then please give it a like. Please subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching. Take care.